Yeah, I haven't gone live in a long time. This will possibly be a shit show. So I am going to read out the press releases. They are from Lake County Coroner's Office, and they are to do with a tragic event that occurred yesterday in Indiana, concerning a YouTuber here, well known for mainly his Delphi murders content, who lived in Illinois at a different address to the person that he has been accused of murdering. And I know speaking about this, having anything to say about this that is less than, that can be seen as discompassionate. I know it's not going to be popular, okay? And I'm not here for a popularity contest. I have this channel because I'm a reaction channel and because I need somewhere to be able to give my thoughts and opinions, to work things out, to have discussions with people. And that's always what I've done, and that's what I'm going to do. Clearly, we need to know a lot about the situation. There's going to be a lot of speculation. I mean, with what I know, yeah, we can speculate some things. Whether or not it's true, we don't know. I was a moderator on Captain Howdy's channel. I don't know why he made me a moderator, but at one point in time, he did. The Captain Howdy and I agreed on a few things with regards to Delphi. I didn't always agree with some of the other information that he brought in to relate to the Delphi murders. Sometimes I felt that it wasn't right. For example, things that he might have said about Madeleine McCann's case and Christian Bruckner, for example. But that was just simply perhaps someone that was not all over a particular case in the way that he was about in the way that he was knowledgeable about Delphi, deeply knowledgeable. Anyone coming in here that isn't here because of the subject, because they're just here scrolling through YouTube and looking for lives to go in and have little chats with and make friends with, or troll, or to be annoying to, or to grab attention from, I'm just putting you, I'm hiding you immediately, okay? You're not welcome here. Just for this, choose somewhere else. This is a serious subject. We're talking about domestic violence. We're talking about murder. We're discussing, what leads up to these events. We're going to blame this on the, male toxicity in society, and, the way that males are not cared for in their times of need, and the pressure that's on them. Who knows, right? So things that Captain Howdy would do on his channel that I think we all really appreciated was he always expressed concern about his content, about the gravity of his content and the effects that his content could have on people unintentionally. And he always apologized for that at the start, and he gave a lot of trigger warnings and said, look, just leave if you're going to be affected by such and such. He had the belief that I share with him. I have this belief also. He had the belief that Monon High Bridge was a site that the killer had selected, pre-selected, and then was just going to in search of opportunity. And, you know, when the opportunity would arise, then, yeah, I look like shit, Shane, at the moment. I really do. When the opportunity would arise, he struck, you know. And I believe this also. Sorry, my voice is very harsh at the moment. I'm still recovering from being quite ill. So I've got a constant frog in my throat and it's sounding a bit rough. We know that in 2006, the very year that Richard Allen moved to Monon High Bridge area to Delphi, that was the very year that he learned of the bridge's existence. He joined McCain's team as a community event, and possibly through his workplace involvement, to go to Monon High Bridge and do a cleanup of the trails there. And it involved the area around Mears. And this is before Freedom Bridge was there. And it involved, you know, he knew about that area, the CPS parking area, Mears entrance, the bridge, from 2006. Captain Howdy, one of the things he thought we should have been looking at in terms of the person who committed these crimes, and by the way, he sort of correlated that idea of opportunity, waiting at a pre-selected area and being very patient like that, to someone like Israel Keyes, who used to do the same. He thought that we should look at different types of victims for past crimes that the perpetrator might have committed. You know, anybody vulnerable. So, for example, crimes against elderly people. He would say that, you know, we just need someone to realize that they do know who the killer is, or, you know, who BG is, he'd sometimes say. What else could I remember? I was just trying to think of a few things to say before I got into reading the press releases. We agreed on a single perpetrator. You know, and agreed with our LE, who, you know, Captain Howdy would describe as empathetic. He you know, empathetic that the bodies were not moved there, that, you know, Abigail Williams and Liberty German were killed at the crime scene they were found at. And people don't seem to understand, well, they willfully don't understand about the blood that was there, that Abby's blood and Libby's blood was there in mortal quantities. And he was very curious about the cell phone signals. I remember once he was saying that iPhone 6s can't be turned on manually. I can't remember the evidence from the trial about that, but, you know, he sort of had pondered at times, did Abby sort of, did she sort of rouse from unconsciousness at one time and try to turn it on and then collapse, hiding it under her body? But he dismissed that. He thought it couldn't happen. You know, he would talk about the non-secular, the strange phenomenon, non-secular, the sticks. He didn't think they were runic. He thought if the perpetrator wanted to hide the girls, that the perpetrator simply would have hid the girls. To me, in the crime scene photos, these sticks make a box over both of the girls, regardless of what other parts of branches and things are doing. And it's shocking how large one of the branches is that was laying over Libby. But it actually makes a grid, a box. He had a theory about true crime detective, that show in the first series. It sparked, from this selection in the defense, mention in the defense memo. I don't think I saw antlers, but at the time of him talking about this, he wouldn't have seen that either. But he said, yeah, it looks like a sort of ritual sacrifice and has this Blair Witch feel, and the sticks are very strange. And we know that True Detective, came out in 2014. Was the killer interested and obsessed with true crime? And something about that woods area would have really appealed to someone that was already obsessed with committing certain crimes. And when True Detective came along, that would have really sparked, really cemented a deeper obsession, I think, with that area. Yeah. And like me, he agrees. No reason. Horrible things should not be allowed to have no explanation. And that is why I'm going to talk about this situation that has occurred with the Captain Howdy. This is why I was getting ready for work. I just slapped on makeup, but I haven't put mascara on because I am probably going to bawl my eyes out. That is why I'm going to talk about this. Horrible things should not have no explanation. I'm going to read the press releases now, and I'm going to start with Amanda's, the victim. 16th of February, so that's Sunday. These happened yesterday, which was the event happened on a Saturday in America, Sunday to me here in Australia, Sunday in the States. These press releases were released Sunday, February the 16th. On Saturday, February the 15th at 1100 hours, Lake County Coroner and medico-legal death investigation team was dispatched to Luke Gas Station at 721 Lincoln Highway, Merrillville, Indiana 46410. Decedent's family was notified on Saturday, February the 15th, and identification was made by family on Sunday, February 16th at Lake County Forensic Science Center, 2900 West 93rd Avenue, Crown Point, Indiana 46307. This event occurred 40 minutes east of Worth in Illinois. Victim, Amanda B. Dusek, 42 years old, Caucasian female. Address, 11,200, block of Natoma Street, Worth, Illinois 60421. They were 40 minutes away from her home. Forensic autopsy will be performed February 17th at Lake County Forensic Science Center. Preliminary cause of death, gunshot wounds, and manner of death, homicide. Occurrence inside Luke Gas Station at 721 Lincoln Highway, Merrillville, Indiana 46410. Pronounced certified on scene by Deputy Coroner at 11:55 hours, and the agency in charge is the Merrillville Police Department. Press release for the Captain Howdy. On Saturday, February the 15th at 1100 hours, the Lake County Coroner and medico-legal death investigation team was dispatched to Luke Gas Station at 721 Lincoln Highway, Merrillville, Indiana 46410. Decedent's family was Notified on February the 15th, and identification was made by family on Sunday, the February 16th at Lake County Forensic Science Center, 2900 93rd. Douglas J. Venable, age 45, Caucasian male, address 2800 block of Hancock Street, Lake Station, in Indiana 46406. Forensic autopsy will be performed on February the 17th at Lake County Forensic Science Center. Prelim cause of death, gunshot wounds, and manner of death pending. He was outside. Amanda was inside. Occurrence location outside Loop gas station at 721 Lincoln Highway. Death pronounced at 11:50 hours. So we have to wait and see if this is an estranged couple and he's said, hey, I'm going to come and pick you up, we'll go and talk, come back to my home, or what, you know, we don't know. But has she tried to get away? And she's inside Luke gas station and he has followed her in and shot her in cold blood. I'm not going to have excuses made. We can be compassionate for the frame of mind that somebody has to be in. How desperate, you know, if he's losing everything, or, you know, apparently it might have been over finances or something, but it seems like the couple were separated. Maybe they have had much more complicated issues. And we know if separating, a spouse is in great danger during this time. I have seen information in the past in comments that Captain Howdy made under his own name that do disturb me and trouble me about his, you know, feelings and thoughts. And maybe that's why I'm feeling the way I am. But his family is suffering. Amanda's family is suffering. My thoughts, okay, yes, not only on what has, you know, I think it sounds like a rage event. This is the sort of event that we talk about in true crime and get very upset on. We wonder about the events leading up to these murders, the taking of someone's life. What I feel was happening in these moments. My compassion is for Amanda and her fear, the way her thoughts were with her child, the way she would have been desperate to get out of this situation, for somebody to step in and help, for it to stop. She knows that someone is raging or deeply upset, deeply troubled. Maybe they're arguing. Maybe he's threatening. We don't know. I'm not going to make excuses. And then, you know, I just find this impossible to do, okay, because Amanda wasn't the one wielding the gun, and Amanda wasn't the one that has pulled the trigger. So the fear, the desperation, the urgency, the out-of-body, the surreal experience. We don't know what has happened before with regards to violence, threats. We don't know what was going on. And yes, I love that people are giving compassion. That is their prerogative. And I don't think for one second that I don't feel conflicted and that I don't have it, because I understand the depth of how it feels out of control and desperate. Don't get me wrong. I do. I know what this takes. And I know these things don't happen in a vacuum also. They just don't. And so we do need to know more. We need to know how long Amanda was suffering and in fear. she has separated. She's living in Worth, Illinois. Now, that was possibly Douglas's address prior to his now address in Hancock Street, Lake Station, Indiana. And, you know, it's Worth. Amanda's address is directly west, 40 minutes, of the address where this tragedy occurred. Where were they going? Where were they going? What was that car ride like? I bet it was a car ride from absolute hell. Had Captain Howdy been drinking, struggling with alcohol abuse, out of control, how fearful. We'll know. An autopsy is being done on both of these deceased people. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. I'm sure everybody is going to be talking about this. Everybody is going to have a different opinion. People are going to come down on me. How dare you speak about this? We don't know what happened. We don't know what sparked it. Do you make these excuses for every murder of a woman by their strange husband that you come across? You know, we know life is complicated. Situations are complicated. We don't know the pressure that someone was under. You know, Delphi Murders story has been mired in terrible events, suicides, deaths, you know, murders. And yeah, unfathomable. And this is unfathomable. It's going to take a lot to process. But I can't, you know, maybe just as a woman, there's the violence against women and the way it affects society, how, you know, that it's these terror situations, these terror events, it's statistically men raging against women. And I know society is very unsupportive. You know, hopefully we're getting further along where we are more open and more available for men to talk. But there is so much shame, so much pressure on men, maybe that they put on themselves. And especially if you've got any sort of public profile, I can imagine that this amplifies these fears of exposure and people knowing your business, you know. And maybe if Amanda has, you know, if this is a situation of separation, I'm going by their two different addresses, you know, he'd just rather not know about it, you know, and not leave someone to talk about it either. He, of course, knowing that everyone's going to be talking about it, but of course, when you are in this fugue state, when you are beyond rationality, it is like when you are over threshold, you are not rational, you are not controllable, you are not in that sane mind where you can realize these things. You know, people go, how could they commit suicide? And they really blame people who commit suicide, saying it's a cowardly act and things like that, when in fact, you know, death is terrifying. They're quite brave in a way, and yes, it leaves a lot of pain and destruction, but that person is not of sound mind. That's the whole thing. And so someone committing these acts is not of sound mind either. But this is not the answer. Having a weapon, you know, is not the answer. And having a loaded gun in the hands of someone possibly, enraged, deeply affected, not wanting, not lost control of events, of wife, of family. We don't know. This is these powder keg situations, and a mother has been taken from a child. This child is orphaned. I believe that this baby is not, I don't know how old Captain Howdy's child is, but he and Amanda apparently perhaps were using I think perhaps they were using IVF, conceived twins, and gave, and one child survived and they gave birth. And my compassion is for a mother oh hey I know. I've just read out the press releases, and people aren't going to like how I'm expressing my feelings about this, because there is no excuse for murdering your partner. And yeah, we don't know the situation. The tragedy is how many events in past, where are these crossroad events? Where was the tipping point for this event, when this was a train off the tracks? When was this something flying off the cliff? There's no parachute. When was this unable to be stopped? And what were the events that led up to it when intervention could have happened? There is so much stigma and shame around certain situations people have in their lives, where they hide what's happening and can't seek help or don't seek help. And if this is over money, if this is over rejection, if this is over the breakdown of a nuclear family, if this is over infidelity, if this is over what, but we as a society need to be able to prevent situations from getting this deep and this serious. But it's something that we have seen over and over again, and it's going to keep happening. This is family annihilation. If that child was with them, would the baby be killed as well? Where was the baby? Douglas, had he gone to pick up Amanda at her home, were they driving somewhere to a third party where perhaps the baby had been staying? Were they doing some sort of supervised visitation? We don't know. We don't know how deep and dark and how scary and terrible their lives were, Amanda's life was, before this event. And I'm not going to talk as if this isn't the reality of a situation like this. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm sorry I'm yelling. I know I look execrable. I sound terrible. It doesn't matter. None of that is relevant. But I've already, yeah. There has just been so much loss since that day. I mean, I hate that this is It was February. It was February the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, that it was this time of year. We can't imagine the cacophony of voices and just how that white noise, black noise, that, supernova in someone's head of piled on thoughts and feelings, just not thinking straight, not rational, not being a human being. And people can be a persona on here, okay? When you're presenting videos that you've written and edited, Captain Howdy, over the years, he created a real persona of, he had really perfected his tone of voice, the way that he scripted and everything, and it gave people a sense of calm and gave people a sense of confidence in him. He's a human being with a private life and a public life. Randy said that he really enjoyed meeting him. I think this was at one of the meetups in Delphi, that that big meetup where there was a whole lot of shit going down, with Anthony Greeno being accused by Matt and his then fiancée Kate of stealing cash, which he possibly did, who knows. And Randy Gravett has said that Captain, who was known there by he would use his middle initial J. He said that he was a tall man, nearly I apologize. This is horrible to listen to. He would use his middle name Jay. He said Jay was, tall like himself nearly. That he was kind. He helped pay for an Airbnb. He was happy to help fund because the situation for Matt and Kate apparently hadn't turned out so well. Thinking that they had accommodation arranged and all sorts of things. Anyway, that was a number of years ago now. Out of all the events that have happened since Abigail and Liberty's murders, I think this is one that is going to have, as a community, I think it's going to have a lot of online tsunami and impact. I think this is one there's going to be a lot of chatter, talk, videos, discussion, a lot, not in a way so different, say, to the death of Michael Stroop, Michael Catt, or even the murder of Ferenczi, or the suicide of the person in the middle of, part of these Delphi paperwork leaks. Was it Robert? I don't want to say the wrong name, which is why I'm not mentioning, but I think this is going to create real havoc. Is anybody in here? I don't know, ALM is in here. Is anyone else in here that is from our community? There's 11 people watching. I know I've got some people from that just, drop in on lives because something shows up, or they see lives, or they're looking for lives. Is anyone here as well that would like to make a comment before I sign off? Or are we all lurkers and randoms? I can just, oh, hey. Hi, Mars. Yeah. It's, you can't, it's something that you can't, it's nearly, you can't wrap your head around it. Yeah, so Mars and ALM know of Captain Howdy's work. Yeah, he's carried Delphi for many years, so he's been there through a lot of the big changes. He didn't like when people would, you know, there's tubers who everything that they come across that they have to milk and make mountains out of, right? And he was wholly against that, and he would always be, going to point out the facts of the situation here, what has actually been said by law enforcement. When people are, making these cases about all these multiple people and things, excuse me, but, Carter has said the voice is BG. BG is the voice. It's not two voices. This is it. And what we know about Richard Allen and his timeline, he should have been mentioning he noticed a kerfuffle at the bridge as the girls left, went over, or, and look, I don't want to deviate. But he was good at making sure to make those points whilst also still talking about all the interesting stuff that people wanted to discuss. So there you have it from me for now. I have read the press releases out, sort of about maybe at 10 minutes in, 7 minutes in, I don't know, of this video, for Amanda B. Dusack and Douglas J. Venable. As I mentioned in those press releases, Amanda was living in Fort Worth, 11200 block of Natoma Street, Worth, not Fort Worth, my apologies, Illinois 60421. The incident happens in Indiana, and Indiana is the address of Douglas, of the Captain Howdy, the 2800 block of Hancock Street, Lake Station, Indiana. I'm yet to look up how close this is to the Lake gas station. I have a feeling it was rather close. Why they've stopped there, I don't know. Out of necessity in an event, if they're arguing what has happened, or have they argued when they've arrived there? Because Amanda is inside. Is she trying to call for help, or was there a scene inside? Did she not want to continue further, get back in the car? I mean, we don't know. She works there. Sensei wackadoodle. Amanda works at the gas station. So she had traveled from Illinois 40 minutes to go to work. Was she working at the gas station or nearby, and had they met there? Did they have an appointed meeting? I'm gathering that people are talking about this, so I'm not in the know. According to one of the news videos, she worked at Lake. So he's driven there. He has gone there. Because I haven't looked up that Hancock Street address in relation to Lake gas station there yet. Wow. Because my fear was, my distress, trigger is, well, if they were in the car ride that way together, what that car ride must have been like, how it felt. So Sensei's saying, Amanda worked at Lake's gas station. She was a clerk there, or a clerk. The news said she was shot multiple times and then he killed himself. Yeah. I guess he knew where to find her. Why block Justice Jane? Did I? So is Justice Jane, Channel Chimley, Tom Cruise, Chanel Godfrey? Is Chanel Godfrey Justice Jane? That's what's showing up. That's who I've blocked in this live. So can you help me understand that Buffalo Mountain, Tennessee girl? Because if people aren't showing up as that, and nothing was said that made any sense to that person talking about this situation, yeah, otherwise I wouldn't block Justice Jane. No. Did Justice Jane go and say that she was blocked to you? Can you help me understand, so if there's something I can fix? Please. Anyway, later I can have a look. I won't have time until after work now later, but I'll be able to go into my studio and see if Chanel Godfrey is Justice Jane. I just used Humanimal, and when it came up that we had to put the channel name, how it would appear, or we got the option to, I made it the same so that it doesn't say, how they might have a certain channel, Tom Smith, but then in comments and things like that it might appear as just user something, or or Tree of Life or whatever. It's like, well, that's confusing. I just ensured that mine is Humanimal and it says Humanimal channel, so that you don't have to do all this thing and go to people's channels and look it all up. I just don't see her anymore. Well, I haven't seen her at all, Sensei. Sorry, Buffalo. I didn't see her at all. Who are you talking about? There's been no comment on this live from a channel named Justice Jane, and comments from channels called Tom Cruise, Chimeli, and Chanel with an S, Godfrey. Are you saying Chanel Godfrey is Justice Jane? Is that what you're saying? Wow, so that's yeah, and that's further food for thought, isn't it? That it's being reported that Amanda was at work and he's driven there to perform the crime. Okay, well, just waiting for a response, because I just want to know, because I don't want to upset anyone. Buffalo, I'll often do these lives. There'll be, 14 people. I know of them are lurkers from the community. Others might be others, and others will comment. And quite often people are there and they don't comment, and they think I want to sit here and talk away to myself, knowing that there's people watching. I don't mind people lurking and not commenting if they, if they just want to hate watch, or if they just want to watch but they don't want to show that they're there for whatever reason, I don't know. But if there's no reason that you don't want to not be seen here, just have some courtesy and say hi. Hi, Johnny. How are you, JK? I hope you're doing well. All right, well, I will say goodbye and thank you for all of those who are here. I've read out the press releases, and now we have further information that Amanda was at her place of work and has been, oh, hi, David Chat. GPT, I love that name for you. I know I'm naughty, aren't I, David GPT? I think it's cute. Okay. Thanks, ALM. Thanks, David. Thanks, Johnny. Thank you, Buffalo Mountain, Tennessee girl. Thanks, Justice Jane. I think we're all going to go away and try and process this information. It's really not going to sit well. I think this is actually going to be a real shitstorm. I think this is going to be a shitstorm on YouTube in our community. I really do. Apologies in advance for the part that, yes, I no doubt will play in it. Because I do have opinions about domestic violence. I do have opinions about these things. I can't help it. It's part of why I have this channel and what I talk about. I'm very uncomfortable about what's going to be released as far as their history together, their separation, and the hell, you can't tell me that someone that has been shot by this ex or their partner, their estranged partner, whatever, you can't tell me that this has just come out of the blue, that they didn't have any dissent, any terrifying arguments, that people weren't afraid, that people aren't vengeful, angry, leading up to this, and that life wasn't hell on earth, and feeling like a real challenge, and like, I'm not saying not from both sides, but is the answer to get a gun and go and shoot your estranged spouse? Hey, even if they're a narcissist and maybe they're telling lies about you in court, and you feel that they are telling lies because they want full custody, and you've got some aggrieved ex who is causing real problems with the law, because sadly we know that court is misused, family court is misused in this way all the time. We know this, and usually the actual narcissist is the one that is accusing the other person of being a narcissist, of being abusive. We don't know if this is the case, but we do know a few other little things that have lightly touched on, and there's things that concern me from that I know of, from that I will never reveal, that that do concern me. And anyway, yeah, this didn't happen in a vacuum. This, people are going to say, we never saw that, we didn't know this would happen, we didn't think he would do it. Of course. Someone that probably did know and was aware that it might happen was Amanda. So there is an aftermath of this devastation and guilt from people that are going to feel just as they would in a suicide event. oh God, I didn't see it, I didn't realize, I didn't know, why didn't I? Oh, who knows? Or maybe they were very aware and they're trying to help, and they're trying to help through the courts, or they're trying to help in other ways, or they've tried to help by giving her, support and trying to mediate, or who knows, right? We don't know. But this didn't happen like that. And yeah, that's all part of this tragedy. I'll stop rabbiting on. Johnny says if it was abuse, there will be records within the courts of and it will come out. Sometimes people just haven't gone as far as going to court, and maybe that was the threat, who knows. I'm feeling like now maybe it could involve all sorts of things, even to the extent of custody, of alimony. Someone was saying on another, in Randy Gravitt's live, that there were possible money troubles. It's like, go, yeah, I think shame, loss, power, control, hurt, just wounds, these deep wounds, these are all at play here. Scroll up to last comment. I just see that you've said that he's gone to the gas station and shot her multiple times. Is that what you're talking about, Sensei? So I'm not seeing all comments. I don't know, what the frick then. So there was a restraining, see, there's my gut instinct, a restraining order. She's been threatened. She's felt in fear of her personal safety, her life. I wonder why I'm not seeing all comments. I've got, I don't know, and I'm just using my phone. I'm not using a PC or even a tablet. So she took out a restraining order on the 11th. Wow, he's acted days later. Holy fuck-a-doody. Amanda has probably been deeply concerned about going anywhere, but probably felt going to work at a gas station, knowing there's cameras, knowing that there's always people. She probably felt safe going to work, and clearly has to keep making a living, and they've got a young child together. And it's probably, oh my God, that is just, it's probably one place that she felt safe. Sounds like things went really bad for them both leading up to this, said Sensei. 100%. 100%. And yeah. People are wanting, no, we're protecting him. We don't want to give his name. We don't want to do this, and don't shut us down. Don't shut us down. It doesn't, we can compartmentalize the Captain Howdy's input, his everything he gave to the Delphi community, but people, and be real, be fucking real and fucking realistic about what goes on between in the breakdown of relationships. And we need to look, this is society's problem. This is society's problem. We have moved so far beyond worlds where life is smaller. You're surrounded by a lot of people you are related to, people in the village that have a vested interest in your security and your prosperity, like in your survival, and where, you know, the nuclear family and where extended family is king. And sure, in cultures there, some of them are polygamous or what have you, but Johnny says, I think she knew a secret. You don't just have a baby and then leave a man. His whole life could have been a lie. I've seen something, I've seen communications from Captain Howdy that hinted at very much dark side that he wanted to suppress. And that's all I'll say. But that's our society that we have dismantled and blown up. And because our you know, the just population wise, we move around globally, families are scattered, bonds are severed and weakened, and we don't have support, protection. Attitudes are very different about coupling, about being in committed relationships for life. This devastation of the nuclear family brings in a lot of primitive feelings from people, because just of the nature of man, when, you know, about genetics, property, your woman, your child, someone raising your child, the impact someone else will have maybe on your baby and how they're raised and what they, you know, and all of these things. And it, you know, it's happening more and more in society, and we're seeing more and more of these events, and where the answer is to annihilate, you know, it's just an answer to, oh, I want to start again, or you know, egos are damaged. I think alcohol is involved. Randy Gravitz said that at that same event where Captain Howdy wanted to help out with Matt Sullivan's Airbnb costs, he'd also said to Randy, hey, you know, you got to help monitor my drinking. I mean, that's someone with a problem. And Randy had said, hey, you're really hitting the hard stuff hard. And alcohol degrades the way you can think. It can also be an excuse for rage. It can be, you know, it can really amplify your issues, right? If you're sad, you'll feel sadder. If you're angry, you'll feel angrier. Sensei says, it's very difficult. I completely agree, but I also think for the surviving family, it's a very difficult time. Absolutely. They could have also tried to help, or just not thought he would ever do this. When you're at this, yes, because you don't like to. But when someone's got a restraining order against them, that needs to be taken seriously. You don't, you know, don't write it off. Don't diminish it. Don't make, yeah. I know, and I know this is, his family is suffering. Imagine what they feel. They've lost someone too. They're going through very many complex emotions. Who knows? We don't know them. We don't know what their feelings are. We don't know how they feel about the separation, but we do know they'll be in shock and grief-stricken. Nothing makes this right. Nothing explains it. Nothing makes it better. And it's these senseless things. Yeah, you know, many people on this earth know the hell of family court, of separating, of how messy, how distressing, breaking up when you've got children. Fuck, I was severely damaged by breaking up with, someone it was awful, but our relationship deteriorated for certain reasons. It was hard for us thinking about we were breaking up our family, and these were cats and dogs. Imagine with a child, the heaviness of knowing that you are breaking up a family. I mean, obviously sometimes it's for the best. Two people should not be together. Sensei says, I agree. I think that they should have serious alerts to restraining orders as serious threat to life in my orders, in my opinion. Johnny says, I'm going to bite my tongue on this one. Sometimes love is completely crazy and it's horrible. It's a shit show. It is. It is crazy. It can be crazy. You can be crazy in love. You can be crazy for love. Love can drive you crazy. Loss of love drives you crazy. Especially with underlying personality disorders, underlying mental illness, underlying addictions. All of these things affect how you cope with these breakups, how modulated you are, how rational, how mature. They hurt either way, but we see this over and over again, how petty, how cruel, how nasty people can be through family courts and through these separations. It's like they're possessed. It's like a human being isn't there anymore. It's like a vengeful, rageful, testosterone-driven toddler, male toddler, is in control of the person, male or female. And we see this more and more these days, how people are simply unable to cope with these massive life events that we know are amongst the most dangerous and damaging for human beings. Death of a loved one, separation from someone, loss of jobs, things like that. This is just a nightmare. This is a nightmare. It's going to tear people up, because of course we've got, I'm having this internal, you've got the, there is a battle on there, but I guess for me, it's, even if it turns out, okay, because I know there's going to be people that are saying, oh, depending on circumstances, right? Oh, she was driving him crazy. She was lying about him, this, that, and the other. Who knows, right? But you can rewind it, Adrian. Just rewind it. It's more difficult, because with the death, say, of Michael Stroop, we can give memorials. We can, hey Mustang, we can talk very openly with happy memories and make references to him all the time and discuss it in a way that now, how do we go about this moving forward, about the Captain Howdy channel? And it's tainted in a way that other things, it's a very complex relationship to things. What's happened with how we're going to be able to discuss it. I'm just saying that this is going to cause a shitstorm. This is going to be very unpleasant, right? Perhaps there will be people that will be able to walk a line with it. But I think there are going to be people that are going to take offense to anyone having an opinion that is anything other than, you know, have respect for the captain. He was our friend. He was a great man, blah, right? Completely dissociating from, from the event, from the facts. And Mustang, this is going to cause yet another great divide. I mean, how many have we got now? How many different camps? Because everybody's got their own feelings about this type of situation, their own life experience that they are going to draw on and be triggered on. You know, often what we see in cases where, I see a lot of whining on, nothing to do with our community. Sensei says, I understand Humanimal. Also, you have the angle people covering the Delphi deaths, but you can't talk about this. Ironic, really, right? Oh, but they can put a lot of meaning into suicides and murders, suicides of people involved in a leak, where we don't know all the situations. I think someone must have been already suffering to have a shame, what they perceive as a shame event to them. It's that last straw. That's just my opinion. To be overwhelmed like that. And with the murder of an FBI agent, I mean, those things are to be expected as well. But yeah. What the fuck was I saying? You know, in a lot of forums you see, you know, these men come in and they're whining about how they're being disenfranchised and pushed out and everything like that. But actually it becomes clear that they're really not being honest about why they, you can see it. You understand the tone. You can read the subtext, and anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of shit that goes down in family court. Mars says, I think it's disrespectful not to talk about it. He probably would have expected it, rightly. Look, frankly, if he's in a rational frame of mind, he's not thinking about doing what he's doing. But if he could be and see it, an overview of it, yes, 100%. The Captain Howdy knows that he's going to be talked about. This is going to be talked about. He does expect it, even though at the time that wasn't on his mind. But it might have been perhaps when he's killed himself. He doesn't want to be around for the fallout, you know, for the fallout of murder and for the fallout of being conscious of everything that goes on after. Mustang barely knows how to use Discord, I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never been on Discord or, you know, I don't Reddit. I don't forum. I just do this, you know. I guess I was a mod for Captain Howdy, but I wasn't a paid up member. I'd done memberships in the past and things went a little bit, and I decided I'd never actually be, you know, if you're going to be of one, you want to be of all. I just support people quite a lot by sharing, commenting, support, you know, I'm always there doing that, and occasionally making donations. But I you know, members on Howdy's channel will know more of his true thoughts and feelings about things, because he would make monthly videos where he was a little bit more open. And wow, It's a lot to, there's a lot to think about. A lot to think about. So February 15th, Douglas drives to Amanda's workplace, shoots her multiple times inside the gas station, shoots himself outside. His mode or whatever of death is still pending though, but they've called hers homicide. There was a restraining order filed against him on the 11th of February, so only 4 days before. They have a young child together. They had separate dwellings. I always thought that it was Captain Howdy that lived in Worth, Illinois. So was it him that moved out? And isn't it interesting? Guess where he moved to? Close to her workplace. Did he? I'm still to look that up, where that address is. Hi. Hi. Randy, did you know if the address in Worth was where Captain Howdy used to live with Amanda? And was it him that moved out, or did they live together in Indiana, and did she move out to Worth, Illinois? Do you know? That's something I would like to know. Anyway, guys, I have said no, they don't live together in Crown Point, Indiana, Randy, because their addresses in the press release are given completely separate. And she had a restraining order against Captain Howdy on February the 11th. So he's living in a hotel on the 2800 strip of block of Natoma Street, Worth, Illinois. I'm so sorry. Rewind that 5 seconds. Douglas is living in a hotel in the 2800 block of Hancock Street, Lake Station, Indiana. He's moved to Indiana where she works, near where she works. And Amanda lived in 11200 block of Natoma Street in Worth. So they do not live together. You know, they have separated. And what we know, Randy, is spouses, it could be either, but it's usually the woman. It's a very dangerous time for them as far as their personal safety, as part my little senile dog. Just hold on. Baby. Oh, let's cheer ourselves up looking at this dog. Grunts like a little piggy, doesn't he? Grunts like a little piggy. Don't you, my love? I got to put your eye droppers in. So we know the most dangerous time is soon after, just after, around the time of, a little way after separation. Crown Point is not far from, do you mean, hey Randy, do you mean Crown Point is not far from Lake Station? Hey Rick. Hey. I've just gone an hour and 15 minutes. ranting, being upset, you know, being just my usual hard-nosed self as well. Reading out the press releases from Lake County Coroner. Yeah, for the Captain Howdy. So, yes, so Randy is confirming, because I just forgot, I wanted to look this up before I did, but Lake Station is not far from Lake Gas Station. Is that what you're saying? I mean, I just find that absolutely intimidating and unnecessarily, I just find that intimidating for someone that if you've, hey, you need to leave, they've left, they've gone and got a hotel near where their estranged person works. How many times? I mean, has he, maybe she didn't feel safe going to work there. We don't know. We don't know if he's driven past there, putting pressure on her in the past. Crown Point, yeah. Oh, thanks for that, Rick. The resurrection of true crime Jesus. I think he wanted to see his son. Yes. Did he have his son at, did Amanda have their son at the gas station? No. And this, you know, this is what I was talking before. Family court is an absolute, it will break your spirit. It will defeat you. It will make you feel like there is no hope. It will make you feel like you will never get out of a hole financially, spiritually, emotionally, right? It will. It can do that when there's animosity and when there is, you know, but we don't know what was going on. You know, he was at her parents' house. We don't know what was going on. So he's supervised with the child. So we don't know what's been going on, right? Maybe she's trying to go through family courts and saying, look, no, you're threatening me. You're making me feel unsafe. Therefore, my son is unsafe. This isn't on. And it's not out of spite, because we know, yes, we know plenty of people do this out of spite, and a lot of people do it out of fear. And when they're doing it out of fear, there is always the terrible possibility that this is going to escalate and escalate to murder. This is the thing. True Crime Jesus says, he was a close friend of mine. He was the last person I thought would do something like this. This is the problem. It is always the last person. Oh, but I never thought he would do that, because we might not see the extent of their pain, their rage, their anger. We don't know the snap. And you know, these events happen when men snap. It's often males are snapping. It's just something, because it's like they physiologically can't cope with these situations. And if they feel like they are being treated unfairly, you know, a man can be scaring their spouse and still feel like they're being treated unfairly by not being able to see their child. You know, and the fear of losing a child, losing control of being able to raise them the way you want, see them daily, not miss their milestones. I mean, I would never undermine the depth of that. It's not about that. Yeah, it's how are you going to process that, True Crime Jesus? Like, how do you just come to terms with something like that? It's, how do you unravel that? It's because it's very hard. This is, you know, it's very hard to yeah, to put those, I'm losing my words now. I'm just so, yeah, it's hard to, yeah, put those two people together and make sense of it. You know, your friend, for example, and the person that has gone to that gas station and murdered Amanda. Or, you know, for YouTubers and people in the Delphi community, especially, for the person that they have seen in videos, and for the persona that they have enjoyed, related to, respected, learned from. It's very hard to marry these things up, and it makes you feel, it really gives you deep conflict inside you, questioning who, because all these things are true and none of them wipe out the other. Being a good person and being someone that you would never have thought would have committed a violent act doesn't wipe out the fact that this person committed a really violent act on another and on themselves. And we know the extent of how out of control, how powerful what is going on inside the head. It destroys all, clearly all rationality is destroyed. To think that that is an answer to, people do, they get so exhausted by their battles, they get exhausted, they can't see a way out when you take hope away from someone as well. So, we don't know, but we also don't know what the other factors are that have destroyed someone's ability to not take that action and to realize they can get through, just work through it. You can have lots of close friends too, and this is what's really hard for friends, is you feel like you're close. Did you give enough support? Why couldn't they talk to you? Sometimes it's just unavoidable because that person would never, ever, ever let you in, and you can't blame yourself. And, replaying back in your mind those times, hey, when I asked that, should I have followed through? Should I have been more direct? By the way, an answer is always be more direct. Yes, be direct. Be direct when someone is thinking of committing suicide. Don't say, are you thinking of hurting yourself? That person can say, no, I'm not thinking of hurting myself. They're going, it's just going to be blissful. It's going to take all this pain away. So you say, and you don't use euphemisms. You've got to be direct. And I believe that's true in all situations. You've separated from your partner. She told me that you guys were having some serious arguments and that way they were violent. How violent have they been? Are you thinking of being more violent? How far will you take that violence? Do you know that it's unacceptable no matter what? It's hard to have those conversations. We often don't. And, I think a lot of people, hi Otto, a lot of people are going to be just going out of their minds. And that's just all part of the aftermath, that devastation. It's like a nuclear bomb going off and, trees being flattened for kilometers all around, absolutely laid flat. There's many, many years before things can grow there, and if they do it all, life has changed forever. Everybody involved, everybody that is a friend of either family, personally involved, had any connection to do with maybe their current, the situation in the last year or two or three, they've been taken out of one dimension and just placed into another. The universe that you were in before, when these people were walking around and when you were deep friends with someone, that universe doesn't exist. You're not in it anymore. And it's because the future, that everything that would have happened with them alive in the world, that's how Abby and Libby's families have had to move on with. Anyone, these victims of these violent crimes, Galen Rose, she's been taken out of one dimension into another. She's in another universe. She was in a universe where she was a mother of 4 children. Now she's in a universe where she basically has no past, present, or future. Duff says, Cap had a true talent for creation and narration of his original content. I cannot believe he did this. I only met him once, but I enjoyed speaking with him online often. I know he's got a kid. Duff, maybe you met him at that meetup in Delphi that Randy mentioned on his live before. I wonder, was that a few years ago in Delphi? Yeah, no, I'm very sorry, True Crime Jesus. You can't. It's nonsensical. Duff says, which makes this even more brutal. I enjoyed all of his work and the work he did with True Crime Jesus. Oh my gosh, that's right. You guys, yeah, I remember now. Sorry, it's all coming flooding back. Shelley says, I'm sorry to the ones who lost their friend, but taking his own life is on him. But he crossed the line when he took someone else's life. We would have felt completely differently again had he committed the act of suicide alone, you know, because we would feel more open, more able, more welcome to express compassion for his pain, for how dissociated he was from, from feeling hope, from feeling like what life was worth living, like he had any chance of making things eventually right, and just wanting to obliterate the emotional pain that he was in. It can just be in these moments, life just turns on flips on a dime or whatever, Hi, Shane. Shane says, very sad situation. Yeah. Yeah, it's, these circumstances that, are going to really divide people because, Captain Howdy, and who he is in real life and who he is outside of any violent events, etc., etc. He's so many people to so many other different people. He's a son, friend, father, etc., and he has that person, he's obliterated that person, and it confuses things. But it does, it goes to show we really need to pay attention. In Australia on September the 16th we have the Are You OK Day, but in reality February the 11th isn't far before February the 15th, obviously. And if Douglas has not directly gone to someone and said, hey, I've had a restraining order taken out on me by Amanda, how can you talk to them about it? How can you say, I'm going to counsel you here and now that you abide by this and you do everything in your power not to act rashly? Sensei says, maybe the way to move through it would be to separate the captain so his work isn't tarred and stick with the fact like it was any other case. Just a thought. Well, that's where the problem is, because as far as a case rather than a life story, one that even us on the periphery we feel like we have a connection to, I could make several videos about these themes, relate them to other cases, try and talk about what we think solutions might be, how do these tragedies happen, etc., right? But the thing is, it's not, we can't separate it, because no one watching is going to let us do that. They're never going to let you do it. That's the problem. Respect to Randy, but even in his life, you know, he's not going to be agreeing with anything I'm saying in my own live on my channel. That's why I'm here on my channel saying it, because, you know, when moderating for Randy, as moderator, I'm respecting what he wants on his channel. So, you know, if I need to just hide a comment or something in line with his views, that's what I'm there for. But I, on my own channel, have a different idea again, you know. So that's everybody's prerogative, you know, on how you do it. I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to be disrespectful to Captain Howdy's friends. I don't want to be disrespectful to Amanda's family or people in our true crime community who know Captain Howdy, or who personally or otherwise, or to his family. You tell people that they're not going to have an opinion about something like this, and that is just, you know, Johnny says, this is what Roma Army was talking about. Us men have been stressed out, snapping, too much pressure on us in the USA. Men are stretched out, and it's taken its toll. A gift from God turns very bad, very sad. 100%, that's exactly what I've been saying, Johnny. I totally agree. There's no condoning, Shane says, what happened, but there's definitely mitigating circumstances. Johnny, Shane says, Johnny, I agree, same here in Ireland, but we got to try to do better. It's a tough situation. We do have to, we need to reframe everything. We need to wipe the slate screen and clean and start from scratch. But the truth is that we are, you know, 3 or 4 generations deep in shit here, deep in narcissistic parents, deep in nuclear breakup of families where, you know, we are in a quagmire here, and it's going to take a lot to get out of. Everybody needs to decide en masse, enough is enough, you know. We need to give men a voice. We need women to have a voice. We need, for, in this case, this little baby, someone to be giving that child a voice, okay? And we need to find truth in everything. We need to stop being cunts to each other in family court. Not saying that's happening here, but, you know, quite often there's a lot of spite and ego pushing things through family court in a not so nice manner. Yeah. With regards to the general public, Sensei, yes, totally agree. And in that sense, you know, we could just talk about Douglas J. Venables. You don't mention the Captain Howdy. It's the fact that people are insisting on saying we have to say Captain Howdy and not the other way around. If we had done it differently, then, you know, the link is less likely to be found by en masse, you know. But it's kind of already too late now. Sensei says, a lot of all of this is down to unresolved trauma. People don't have the emotional tools to process emotions, and then addictions are born, and they try to numb their overwhelming problems. Yeah, I mean, you know, addiction can be the result of coping, obviously, yes, with trauma, coping with being neurotypical, coping with toxic masculinity passed on down by parents. It can be all sorts of things, right? It can it, be part of this red pill crap. And we need everybody to be able to talk about their feelings. But hurt people. When people are hurt in relationships, they do things that maybe they're not proud of, and cause problems for someone. These rifts and splits, they're often they're not amicable, are they? But we need to somehow come back to some equilibrium where the answer is mediation and resolution, coming up with things that aren't there to harm each other out of spite, but just to resolve things so you can move on, and so that children don't suffer. But unfortunately, that's what's happening. Yeah. Oh. How do I get rid of that? Just don't know what's on my new phone. Yeah. Yeah, this is going to send shockwaves. So many people, even if the, Michael Cat, I guess, was a little bit more obscure. A lot of people with big mouths were making big comments around his death, denying that he died, because it's like in the way that you think you're true. We see stupid comments all the time by people who are in true crime, and they're as thick as two short planks. Oh, I don't find an obituary for Michael Cat. Oh, he's not dead. Oh, he's probably the Delphi murderer. Please get too close. But a lot more people. Howdy definitely has a bigger platform. He had a totally different, had a different vibe. I will say that Cat was very, very close to the truth with the way that he would speculate, with the way that he looked at these crimes. Very early on, he kind of nailed it. It's very sad, says Sensei. We need to normalize men talking about how they feel, and that emotions don't equal weakness. We all know, though, that men are brought up to not show emotion. That's a very real thing. It's a very real thing foisted on men, especially of men that are sort of in their 40s, 50s, 60s right now, who had fathers who, served in wars and things like that. There's a lot of generational trauma. And oh God, I like to think that they're just the loudest, but there's a tiny amount of them, these women that really are just so toxic, and with what they talk about expecting from men and things like that, and they're just fucking hoes. Men need to stop taking on board a whole lot of nonsense. We need to realize that everybody needs a voice, and we need to also understand power and control. Attachment. We need to understand what abuse really is, how it plays out in relationships, and how it escalates, and how often it's seen as something entirely different at the start of a relationship, perhaps. Keeping a clear head, Shane. I know. And let's say if you're abusing alcohol, if you're isolating, because this happens, isolate from friends and family. You lose the activities that you used to enjoy. You become distant, and you're really just stuck in your own head. It's the outward things and that effort to go out and take part, make life about more than being trapped in your own mind and in your own desperate situation. And sometimes it's not possible for everyone, and depression plays a big part. The ability to do these things, but it does impact. But it's taking those steps and actually having, people can only do things for themselves, right? We know this. They can only change for themselves. You can't change someone, and often we see them, they have to get right down to the bottom, go the lowest of the low before they can bounce back up, and all of this stuff. And it's, but yeah, they do need support to sometimes, to make these changes and to start to change. And when people are just simmering just under boiling point all the time, it really doesn't take much. Lily Shaw, the YouTuber, the Captain Howdy, is deceased, and he put multiple bullets into his estranged partner, Amanda Dusack, and that just happened in the last little while. Shane's isolated himself for 18 months. Yeah. I mean, I myself am completely isolated. I do it to myself. I've taken away everything out of my world. Rather than feeling, it's just, complete numb. I really don't feel, there's no reason in my life why, I don't have, if my old dog, I'm here to keep him alive. I feel like I can't move anywhere, do things that I want to do. I've completely dropped out of all my career-driven roles. I've gone through so much physically and emotionally in the last few years that I haven't tried to start a relationship for for how long now? A decade. And your world, you've got to make the effort to be involved in life and to reach out. When you put your focus on others, when you help others, and when you want to do something that helps someone other than yourself, you're really helping yourself, and it can really move you forward. Lily isolates too, and it's good that you've got friends that only let it go so far, Lily. Yeah. Yeah, there's a difference between isolation, alone, loneliness, all of that. There's lots of different reasons why people will feel alone. Sometimes it's because they feel, well, I've got nothing to offer. I can't offer something to anyone. Maybe they just, there's anxiety. Some people do feel peace, or it's easier to not have to cope and navigate relationships, feeling like relationships actually put a lot of pressure on them, when usually that's not the case. If you should still nurture them, because one day they won't be there because you didn't nurture them, and they were actually there and enjoyable. Helping yourself can be a really hard step, right? It's like that situation you'll find yourself in. I am good in a crisis for others, right? If I if there's something intense happening and action needs to be taken and someone takes charge, I can do that in the moment. Yes, I will have a flood of adrenaline and I might go into shock afterwards. If it's my dog, like my dog went missing once when I just moved to this small town and it was in a house I didn't know. It was the first time and I had to leave to go. I was working at, anyway, miles away out in the middle of nowhere. I had to go from this small town to work. I came home and my dog wasn't there and he'd pushed out from under the house and got it out. And I found him. It was 4 hours of the worst 4 hours of my life because I was taking all these actions. Was I calm? No, I was fucking hysterical. Yeah, and being in a room full of people and feeling lonely. Yeah. Yeah, I would believe that was the case, and some people are. They just, it's something that it's just hard to understand unless you live that way. And sure, it might just be an attitude, but it could just be a response to trauma. It can be a mixture of events, genetics, just personality. Um, yeah, that's right, Nuevo. That's, and that's what does it, our connections, our family structure, our safety nets, they're not there. There's so much pressure. One person has to be so many things. You have to achieve so many things, and there's so many expectations, and it's a lot of pressure, you know, when in that village and smaller environment, the loads are shared for all sorts of things, for living for a living, not working for a living, for way of life, for traditions, for lifestyle, for raising children, for rest and recreation and ritual, culture. It's something that has been stripped from human beings, and they're wanting to put people into these fucking cities, these tower blocks. You're crunched in there, but it's not community, and it's strangers. And imagine the multiplication of the effect of the bystander effect in these situations, how amplified that is. Existing is not living. It's not, Shane. And wasting time, and the longer it goes on, the less you feel like you can get out of it and change your lifestyle. It's harder to imagine how things can ever turn around. You feel like you've just lost so much time and that you can never be happy. Oh, and masking. Oh, if anyone, I've got a PhD in masking, although I do from time to time. I am honestly very open with you guys on my channel, probably to my detriment often. Yeah, but the thing with masking is how exhausting it is as well, Sensei. And you're right, how it does put it does hold, it does create, it still has distance as well. That's right. Oh, that's no good, Nuevo. Sorry, I don't want to miss anyone's comments. I haven't got my eyeglasses on. I can barely barely read anyway. Oh, I'm looking at these lights directly. It's given me a bit of a... I've had a lot of migraines lately. I don't want to get another one because I've got to go to work later today. Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't think people aren't acknowledging or understanding that, you know, it's complex, that there is a lot going on here. So if they want to, you know, I just feel like we shouldn't be thought of as discarding that if we wanted to have discussions, you know, about, I mean, I think actually, you know, this is great because it does open up the gateway. It opens up a gateway for people in our community to talk about this disenfranchisement and to talk about how people are feeling from both sides, you know, the male in that certain situation, the female, but, you know, anybody who wants to talk about Amanda as the victim, they do not deserve to be bullied, to be brought down, to be told that they can't do that, because that's the heart of it. That's the heart of it. Somebody else decided that they were going to choose that she doesn't live, and they're going to do it violently, and they're going to make that decision, and it can't be taken back. It can't you can't mediate your way out of that one, you know. And to go there knowing that the way that it was being done, that it's not hidden, it's not like he's trying to get away with murder. So do you see this type of event what it is? So True Crime Jesus, who was here before, maybe not now, was saying that Captain Howdy was perhaps at Amanda's parents' house, so maybe having a supervised visit with their baby son, and maybe something has gone down there where they have said, look, in light of this restraining order, we're not comfortable doing this. Maybe we need to find somewhere where family court mediators, social workers meet you with you at a community hall or at a playground, or a harm reduction place where I used to work. We used to host family, you know, these custody visits where, you know, maybe a mother could come and visit with her child in this neutral place where she had support, where the social worker could come. And who knows what went down? Maybe that they was just saying that, you know. We have no idea. Did he plan to go and visit there to see, you know, perhaps her parents look after the son, the baby son, while Amanda's at work, and did they say, no, you're not allowed to come in, we're not sure about this? Is that what's happened? Shane, I heard he brought a gun because his wife's new boyfriend threatened to kill him. He just snapped, not condoning it, by the way, just trying. Why would her boyfriend threaten to kill him, though? And we don't know if, oh God, what? See, this is this ego, this jealousy. Someone else is going to be, oh God. Someone else. I don't want another man with my partner, with my son. It's crazy. Oh, well, HCC. Sorry, but I don't rate James. Who knows? He might have the inside knowledge, probably does, but I won't be going there to hear it. You know, how easy to say, I've been threatened, I'm getting a gun. You get a gun knowing in the back of your mind. I mean, is it for self-defense? Hey, Shane, if someone has threatened you, do you go and buy a gun, or do you go and get a restraining order? Do you go to the police? Let's see that there is actually the truth of that. Does the evidence, sorry, I just did a little glitch. Does the evidence hold up to that, Shane, Oh, my ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend's just threatened to kill me. Well, why? Maybe because he's making threats himself. That would stop someone going to the police, wouldn't it? If they have been violent. It's like, hey, if you come in anywhere near her again, I will protect her. Is that what the gist is? Okay, we don't know this. I think a lot of information is going to come out like this, and so many people are going to feel it like in so many ways. If you're not making threats, and then if why would someone threaten you? And if you're threatened, and you don't fear going to the police to bring this to light, you go to the police and you say, I've been threatened, and you get a restraining order. Amanda got the restraining order. Yeah, that's lovely, Shane. And in fact, maybe on my channel here, when I've calmed down a bit, maybe we can have one here live as well and light some candles. Oh, it's just a lot to process, isn't it? Because there's going to be a lot of people that think they know. A lot of people are going to do some digging. A lot of people are going to go and look at courts. A lot of, and then there's people that, have more of a grip, like True Crime Jesus, and true friends of Captain, and friends of Amanda and her family are going to have some sort of feeling about it. They've seen things that friends haven't seen. And frankly, you don't tell your friend, I've been acting like an absolute arsehole to this woman. I can't stand that she's got another partner. She's sleeping with him. I can't stand that he's around my son. We don't know. We don't know if the situation is, whoa, I do not like that new guy that you've got. He's not worthy of being around my son. And actually, I do not like the idea of, this child is a baby. I don't think any new man should be around someone's children. I think it should be a very long time before they're introduced. I think single mothers need to wake up to themselves. That's another issue altogether. So we don't know. Do we feel, did Captain Howdy not appreciate the caliber of person? Did someone go from good to worse in their choice? Or would they go from worse to better in their choice? There's too many variables, and we don't know. Did he just feel, could it have been just because it's any other man, or is it because this man is not worthy, doesn't like this person, he doesn't trust them, they're being around their son too often? Or is it, we don't know how Amanda worked her relationship. We don't know how long she'd had this relationship. I don't think any woman should be introducing any children, or any men should be introducing to any woman their children very early on in any relationship at all. I just see how problematic that is over and over again, and we all have through the true crime community. And having a new boyfriend, yes, you might want someone for yourself, but you need to have the priority as the child, and it is going to cause tension and thinking of yourself and your needs over the needs of your child does create a powder keg situation. It is a very natural thing for a woman is going to hate the man's new woman and think that they are terrible and think that they are not worthy of being around their children, and a man is going to think, get that scum away from you and from my child. And that is how it goes, that when there is any slither of animosity, and yeah, it's not. And this child, it sounds like they're maybe a toddler, not very old. It's very judgmental, who's to say, but I really am not one for looking for baby daddies. I mean, look at what Crime Geek got herself into. Who would pursue a relationship with Anthony Greeno like that? And and she's like, oh, well, wanted to meet someone. Wanted to have a father figure for my children. You're doing, you should be doing completely the opposite. You've got young, vulnerable children. You're rushing into a relationship with a person that, number one, everybody knew had a felony record. Whether they're, a follower of the channel because they want to watch videos, because the information was good, because it's entertaining, because it was an open forum, for whatever reasons. For me, I haven't for years, but I did. And I wrote a letter to Anthony Greeno when he was in prison when Michael Catt died. One letter with a card, because that compassion for someone in that situation and losing their friend like that. But but you got to think of your children. You got to think of your baby. When you've got a serious breakdown of a relationship and things are unresolved and you're not moving forward and you're not really separated and you've got custody to sort out, I do have to wonder, why are you in a relationship? It's not, maybe for comfort, maybe something for yourself, but it's a distraction. It's clearly going to incense the other person. It's going to be a needling sticking point, Is that his name? Is it Shane? It's named after Douglas. Yeah, he's young and he's orphaned. So, that's his life's changed forever as well. He's not going to be brought up by parents that, yeah. But years ago to be saying, and years ago, probably at the time when his child was born, saying to Randy Gravett, tell me when I'm out of control. We know this is a sign of, this is serious, right? Hello, GP, anyone joining? It's complex. We can see. I sometimes it's so hard when you can see so many angles, so many points of view, and you can go around in circles, and it's all he said, she said. No one is above reproach. No one is entirely clean and clear. Everyone acts terribly, I'm sure. It's and saying things that maybe they don't mean, out of, a little bit, acting out of hurt, and when things are over and you want them over, then you just want them over, right? And you want to move on. And but yeah, I don't know. It's sad that it had to be so complicated, and that there's more and more variables that we're learning about, like possible threats and gun, the restraining orders and new boyfriends and everything like that, right? It's just what a mess. What a mess. Hmm. Yeah. And that's two people gone from the face of the earth in a violent, tragic way that is just going to impact people forever. It's going to change how their child feels about himself and life, what type of man he might grow up into, what feelings he will have about himself and his worth. What sort of fire is going to burn inside? Can it be converted to something positive, or what, you know? People whose parents have gone through this, people whose parents have suicided, sometimes when they're 9 years old, 14 years old, 27 years old, 53 years old, they suicide. Yes, yeah, I know. That's the thing too. And I do need to be much more well, the thing is, you know, people are going to talk openly about how they feel about domestic violence and family court and gun law and all sorts of things, GP. So unfortunately, it's not going to be avoided where there will be some sort of record online for baby to see at some point if baby as an adult or child wants to look. And other people are going to be telling baby things, you know, as they go through life. Maybe they won't know the truth for the what, you know, who know. Oh God, you know, there's just so much that, you know, it's just, yeah, it's just moved into this baby's in another universe now. Everything that was going to happen for its life, it's just gone. So, you know, I guess the next thing is that Lake County will give the autopsy results, maybe. I don't know. What happens? What happens when it's murder-suicide and that's actually declared to be the case? What happens from there legally? You know, if it was murder and then someone tried to harm themselves and they're still alive, they'd be taken to court. Your niece was murdered by Garrett Kurtz, GP, and her children suffer. Yeah, because it's an event that they had no control over. It was just done to them as much as your niece, wasn't it? You know, the violent act, it's been committed against everybody. That's, you know, yeah, very, very sorry to hear that. You know, violent crime, it's never just the primary victim who is a victim. It's much larger than that. You know, those are the tentacles. Those are the tentacles. All the survivors, and how they have to live their life. It doesn't even have to be violent crime. You know, for example, if I think of a friend who died, whose birthday would have been on January the 31st. She got very rare brain cancer, and now her elderly parents are living out the rest of their life, having gone through watching their only daughter suffer, go through operations, suffer, and die. You know, when she's very young, in her 40s, leaving behind 2 teenage children. No, you know, we're affected, people are affected, and they certainly can't live the rest of their lives, which, you know, probably, you know, they're very elderly. That's how their lives end, you know, with grief, immense grief. Well, I have been on here for 2 hours, 10 minutes and 7 seconds. So it's been a roller coaster, hasn't it? This live, my goodness. We've had people that have appeared to, you know, give some facts, add some detail. You know, originally I'm seeing that they have separate addresses, and I'm making an assumption that they're separated. I made an assumption that maybe they had been traveling together. Maybe someone had, you know, they'd say, hey, because this has happened in the past too. We know of situations, we could name a number of cases where the woman's been picked up by the men under some ruse, under some guise, and been murdered. And I was wondering, how did this occur? Then how did they stop and she get out at this gas station? Then we have been informed that Amanda actually worked at the gas station, and that perhaps Douglas had tried to go to see his baby son and maybe had been denied and has gone there. And we're told that maybe he's only got the gun because he's been threatened. Well, if you've got a gun because you've been threatened, do you necessarily have to have the idea that you could use it as well? I mean, you seem more like the threat if you're the murderer. So we've been on a ride, and we're going to be on a ride. This is going to take us all in. This is going to be warp speed roller coaster. We know it. Okay. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for giving me your ears, your compassion, giving that to me, allowing me to talk openly and work through things aloud, trying to work out my own feelings. Let's try and all do so in other chats and comment sections that we end up in, is trying to be compassionate and understanding about all the different viewpoints that people have, understanding that people will have different viewpoints because of what they themselves have as their own lived experience. And you know, let's try not to start, oh God, I mean, I'm already thinking, how many places am I going to be blocked from? Again, still more, you know. But yeah, I'll try and have some awareness, some self-awareness and everything. Thank you to everybody, to GP, Sensei, Shane, Mustang, True Crime Jesus, to Randy Gravett, to, I'm just trying to think, to JK, so Johnny Kramer, Lily Shaw, Nuevo Laredo, probably missing people that were in earlier, but Shelley, Duff, Automobile, Mars, Burn After Reading, so Rick, True Crime Jesus, I think I said that. Yes, anyone I've missed? Tennessee Girl. Yeah, anyone I've missed? Maybe Justice Jane, I didn't see you, I apologize. Thanks, Sensei. Yeah, let's keep our spirits up. Let's support each other through this. Let's try and be there for each other, be a shoulder, because this is just, it's just piling on, isn't it? We've already got enough grief as a true crime community surrounding the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. That's what's brought a lot of us together, and it's not the time now to be divide and conquering sort of thing. It is a time to be there for each other, open to listen, hear each other's point of views. I apologize in advance for not taking my own advice if that gets like that, because simply because of the domestic violence. This is a domestic violence event. This is a rage event. This is a murder. It's like with, let's just say, with Chris Watts and Shanann, people really, there are some people that, you know, because they perceived Shanann a certain way, they totally blamed her for her own death. They thought, yeah, she, oh, you know, no wonder sort of thing. I mean, that is repulsive. Who cares? Who cares what's going on? I mean, I think there are factors, as I've said, I've mentioned, I'll talk about them again in another video. I'll stop repeating myself. How annoying. But you know what I've just been saying, giving all angles of this. But, you know, it doesn't matter to me. You know, murder is murder. Maybe everyone had, you know, maybe it wasn't dealt with very well. If indeed Douglas has gone to Amanda's parents' house and has wanted to see the child, maybe they did handle it as best they knew how, but he didn't take it very well. You know, it would be distressing, but maybe that's part of the restraining order. Who knows? We don't know yet. And anyway, I could keep going on, couldn't I? I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much. Thank you to Humanimals and everyone who isn't a Humanimal. This is just a channel where we talk about things. This is a reaction channel. This is a very messy, crazy channel. But it's you know, it's a place where people can come and hopefully feel like they can talk openly. Although, you know, you do know that I do cut things down if I feel the need. All right. Bye. Let's try and have positive day, evening, morning, wherever you are. I'm going to go to work, so that'll get my mind off it for a little bit. But tomorrow morning, maybe so the same time that I came on today, maybe I'll come back on. All right. Thank you. Take care. Be kind to yourselves and others.